Hello everyone and welcome to Astrology and Magic. My name is Aquarius Ruler. This is going to be the start of season 3. So welcome in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. We've got a little bit of a switch up. So the format of the show from here on is going to be just a little bit different. I also want to take time at the beginning to say thank you for being patient with me. I know that I have been offline. I haven't been posting. I've been posting kind of minimally. There's been some unexpected things that have come up asking me to take some unexpected time off. Sometimes life happens and we can't plan for that. So in that unexpected time off though, I've been asking for change to come through. I've been holding a lot. There's coven work I've been doing, the internet stuff, the blog, the podcast, and my plate has been really full. There's also a lot of work that I do in the background with the spirits to make sure that everything is up and running, that I'm learning the lessons that I need to so I can bring them to you and have everything presented kind of the way that it needs to be. That's one of my responsibilities. So with that being said, thank you. I'm grateful for the patience. I know people have been asking, if I'm okay and kind of where the podcast is at and like what's going on with it. So here's your answer. We're back. It's season 3. Things are going to be a little bit different from here on. If you watched the show before, I think it was like September of 2024 is when I started doing weekly updates. We're gonna kind of go back to the origin of how this podcast started, which, if you're unfamiliar with it, is more focused on the specific transits that happen. Today, we're focused on Pluto Retrograde. So here coming up, there's gonna be one episode, just so everyone's familiar with the formatting from here on. We're gonna have one episode about the astrology and kind of what to expect from the astrological perspectives. What can we look at for timelines of things? How are the different transits going to be affecting this certain transit that we're focusing on? And that way you can work with your magic and the timelines of things, kind of know what to expect on a long-term, bigger picture. I know Spirit's been asking me, and I've been asking myself to focus on some more long-term things right now. So I think switching up the format of the show hopefully is a little bit helpful in that area for people who are looking at making some long-term transitions and working with long-term magic rather than doing kind of like the day-to-day things. So, keep up your day-to-day practice. That's true. But so that's going to be a little bit different. And then each transit, so Pluto Retrograde is going to have 2 different episodes. This is the first one. So there's going to be 2 different ones. The first one's focused on astrology. The second one is going to be focused on the magic part. And this is something that I've been asking Spirit for like a long time. I honestly don't know how long it's been, but I've had this question in my head for a while. How am I supposed to bring the magical perspectives to people based upon astrology, based on what I do? I was like, I don't feel like there's room for it, like in the previous way that I was presenting things. And so I've been asking myself for a long time, how am I going to do that? And then in the previous months, we've started working together as a coven. So there's going to be more work for the coven within the podcast shows, probably towards the end. There's going to be more ritualistic things in those episodes. But then there's also going to be other works of magic, like how can you utilize the transit for your magic and things that you can do. So there's going to be a way to practice that magic with the coven. There's going to be a way to practice that without the coven. And without further ado, also, if you're watching on video, you might notice the background is just a little bit different. Things are changing. Things are changing. And when things change, usually everything rearranges for me. So one of the things that's been rearranging, I have up behind me, you can kind of see it. Not too heavily. I do have on like the dramatic effect with my video, so it's a little blurred out, but you can see there's kind of a bigger bookshelf back there. One of the things I'm putting together is a coven altar. So I've already got some things up there, some light to keep some things on for us, bring in the brightness, we need the light, let it be clear. There's some other kind of like artifacts or books or things that would make sense to be in the coven space and in the coven area. So if you're someone who practices with us, then if you would like to send something, I'm going to have a PO box available in the next episode when we talk a little bit more about the magic. But if you want to think about it, just if there's anything that you feel like either you've already created or you want to create with your magic and with your craft, that would be a kind of like a battery a little bit. That's kind of the purpose of the altar, is to bring through magical energy from people who practice with us in one space, in one cover, where we can all discover kind of what is going on with that, more to bring us into unification. If I had a physical place where we could all come and visit, which is kind of something that I'm interested in doing, not right now, but when it's time. If I had that, then my doors would be open to you. However, right now, that is not the case. So this is the beginning. This is the very, very start of it. So if you're interested in that, this is more, again, long-term stuff, long-term perspectives. So again, P.O. Box in the next episode. Think about it for now, kind of come up with some ideas if that's something that you would like to participate in, make offerings for, make offerings to. So that's going to be kind of the longer introduction, but things are going to be a little bit different from here on. So things with the exclusive subs are still going to be the same. New moon updates are going to happen. I'm going to start on the blog writing a little bit more when it comes to different transits or different magical perspectives. So it's going to shift a little bit over there too when it comes to the non-exclusive subs. However, it's still going to be pretty similar, so something to kind of look out for. And then the other one for the exclusive subs on the blog, there's still going to be the monthly update when it comes to kind of like the quote unquote adult magics, things like ancestral magic, the magic that costs a little bit more to practice. So that's still going to be there. So no need to worry about that. No need to scurry about it or hurry about it. Still going to be there. And again, just thank you for being patient. There's been a lot of changes and a lot of turns happening back here behind the scenes. And one of the things that Spirit reminds me when I make these big changes and big turns, kind of like once or twice a year, it seems like for the previous couple of years, you have to slow down to turn the car. So I've been slowing down a lot, and thanks for being patient with me slowing down so that we can all turn together. Cool. In the turn together, let's look at Pluto Retrograde. Is that it? I think that's it. If you want to become a supporter of the podcast, if you want to become a supporter of the work, the exclusive subs, that's going to be the place to do it. $5 a month, $55 a year. If you want to become a founding member, I'm pretty sure that's $333. You can go all the way back to the beginning. There's a lot of exclusive subs blogs from like way at the start that have to do with a lot of different magic stuff. So that being said, thank you for everyone who does support me. Thank you for participating. Anyone who's interested in the Coven and has not already joined, there is a link down below. It's in the previous episodes too, but there's a link down below that's going to be more of like a group chat or a space. So if you have questions, even if you don't want to practice with us and you just want to join the place, there's like an astrology room, there's a living room, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that people talk about on there too. So a place for community. Right now, digital. Maybe sometime in the future we'll have a physical. That would be great. So here we are, and now we're going. Now we're going to start the show after the very long introduction. So here we go. Today we're talking about Pluto Retrograde. Now, Pluto Retrograde has already been happening. It's already started. This idea kind of came into my mind right as Pluto started to retrograde, and I've literally been sitting on this podcast episode for like a month now. But I had to make the changes. I had to make the turns before it was time for it to come up. So with that being said, let us get into it. So just like the previous episodes, just like the previous season, there's going to be timelines and different dates to pay attention to. The details of those are going to be down in the description. I am going to go over them here at the beginning just so we kind of have a handle on what we're working with and what to pay attention to. So Pluto Retrograde started May 5th at 3:27 a.m. UTC. And then we're also today going to be looking at Saturn, its transit, Uranus, and its transit, because Pluto right now is in Aquarius, ruled by both Saturn and Uranus. So we're going to be looking at those. We're also going to be looking at the full moon in Aquarius, because it is going to be with the Aquarian energy. It's going to be with Pluto. And then more on, because we did a coven work for the new moon in Aquarius, so more on that in the next episode and kind of what to expect. And then when we get into there's a Uranus retrograde in September, and then September kind of picks some things up. September gets a little bit of that. So we're gonna have eclipse season. Uranus is gonna go retrograde, and then on September 1st, Saturn retrograde enters Pisces then as well. So we've got a lot. Like when we get into September, Pluto retrograde is gonna start to pick it up. So we're gonna look at kind of the full entire timeline, and then Pluto retrograde ends October 13th. So first and foremost, what is Pluto retrograde kind of even good for? One of the things that Pluto does is it is a planet of binding. It puts together our contracts, our exchanges, anything that would have to do with like your personal intimate relationships when it comes to sharing of the body. Okay, Pluto does rule over, well, Scorpio rules over our reproductive system. So this is going to have to do with those relations as well. I did do the previous exclusive subs blog was very specifically pointed at Pluto retrograde and kind of how to relate those practices to this transit. But this podcast is going to be a little bit more focused on like more general terms of Pluto rather than specifically at that. So just kind of relate as needed. Pluto has a lot to do with like inheritances, things that you would inherit, our exchanges. It could have to do with business. Sometimes Scorpio, the 8th house Pluto stuff has to do with taxes as well. So if you wanted to go and look at your personal chart, looking at the 11th house, that's going to be Aquarius. The 8th house is going to be Pluto, and then your Pluto placement, your Uranus, and then your Saturn, and then any Aquarius and Scorpio placements are going to be influenced by what's going on. You could look at how they relate. You know, is there any overlap? Do you have a Saturn and Scorpio? Those are going to be like double down. It's going to be maybe a little bit more intense, and there's going to be more harvest and more reward, which honestly, in my opinion, I'm as a Scorpio, I'm grateful for that. Thank you for the rewards. So just to kind of like give a heads up on what's happening with that. Pluto retrograde is a time of harvest. It's a time where we look back on the contracts that we've been in. What have you been doing? What have you been growing? What have you been sowing? Who have you exchanged with? How have those exchanges gone? And we get to kind of have a reconsideration period. Do I still want to be in this exchange? Do I still want to be in this contract? Do I still kind of have to be in this contract? Sometimes we end up signing contracts in spirit, or we end up going through exchanges where like maybe it's just not time to get out of it yet. Sometimes things need to continue, right? So it could be a time where you're reconsidering the contracts that you're in, realizing you want to stay in them, realizing that maybe it's time to move on, it's time to level up. I know for me, especially as a Scorpio and someone who has a Scorpio stellium and is kind of heavy with the 8th house too, a lot of the times the Pluto retrogrades will bring me back to previous relationships or things that have happened with previous partners of mine. And it's a lot of reconsideration. You know, here's the qualities of that person. This is what you gained from being in that situation, in that relationship, in that space with that person. And do you want that? It's time to harvest it, time to figure out how to kind of use it. One of the things that Pluto, and really the spirits on my team, but also with the Pluto transit, one of the things that they asked me to do is make sure that I can look at it in a very neutral way. So say that I've had exchanges with someone who I really disagree with, okay? Someone who I don't like anymore. Maybe I didn't see it at the time, right? Sometimes we get ourselves into situations and relationships where we just don't know any better. We don't see the like full reality of it in the moment, right? Okay, so crazy, first of all. Secondly, if there's anything like that, a lot of the times the spirits in my practice and the Pluto kind of orientation, the relationship I have with Pluto, will ask me to look at their tools and neutralize them. Okay, this was the exchange. What did I not like about it? How can I bring it into neutrality? Because if you're able to harvest that tool or that perspective or the wisdom in a neutral way, anyone can pick up a tool. Anyone can pick up a hammer. You got hands, you got an arm. Okay, as long as that's the truth, anyone can pick that up. Anyone can pick it up. So it can be used in a lot of different ways, and it can be used in a lot of different fashions. And the energy that is behind the tool, if you kind of look at that, and if you're able to process the energy behind the tool, the energy behind the emotion, the energy behind the perspective, at the same time that you're looking at the tool itself, from the contract or the contract itself, what was the deal that was made? If you're able to look at both of those, the contract in more of a neutral way, the tool in more of a neutral way, and this is how this other person was using it. Do I agree with that? Were they abusing it? Was it something that I don't agree with? Was it something that maybe I see the benefit of it, but I need to figure out how to use it for myself because I don't agree with kind of the specifics that they were working with? Sometimes you might find that you do agree with the specifics, but it's going to be more about, okay, there's a different purpose I need to use it for. There's a different reason that I'm using it. So it's going to be more about bringing those different exchanges in and saying, this is mine now. Pluto retrogrades, they ask us a lot of the times to claim our power over the exchanges that we've been in. This is mine now. This thing that we went through together, okay, I'm claiming my experience back for myself. I'm claiming back the power of what happened. I'm claiming back the power of the things that have gone wrong or gone bad. I'm claiming back the power. I'm claiming back my power. That's a lot about Pluto retrograde. So the empowerment time, you know what? If you're going back and studying or things are coming up with previous relationships, it could be business contracts also with Pluto. Sometimes it's the exchanges of money, the inheritances, right? So if that's been coming up, heck yeah. Go back and look at it and claim the power of it. Bring it back in. Bring it back in. You know what? Yeah, I do claim the power of that again. That is mine. That is mine. Thank you so much for reminding me. Thank you so much for reminding me about that tool. Thank you so much for reminding me about what I did gain through that. So there's the Pluto retrograde kind of overview. We're going back and we're claiming what is ours, claiming the power of it. And power for power is a kind of in my opinion, kind of a dangerous thing. And also, I was thinking about this earlier before I got on this episode to film, there's a safe way to do dangerous things. You can be in danger and have safety at the same time. You could walk into a construction site and have a hard hat on and understand not to walk under the big machines, okay? So you could do dangerous things in sort of a safe way. And going back and looking at the previous contracts you've been in is one of the ways to learn how to do that, especially when it comes to magic. Oh, good gosh. Oh, good goodness. So if you're going back, hold on, let me backtrack a little bit, because what was I talking about? I was talking about, doing dangerous things. Power for power, right. Power for power is a little bit dangerous, and that's part of the reason that Pluto can get a little bit schemy, okay? Pluto sometimes, it schemes, it plots, it plans. Pluto looks at, okay, if this is going to happen, then this is going to happen. Then it looks at the chessboard and it says, I can see 20 moves ahead and I already know that I won. Pluto has the foresight to do that, which is honestly a little bit wild. Also, because Pluto has the foresight to do that, Pluto also knows how to blind you. One of my least favorite aspects, but also sometimes kind of necessary, okay? There's a reason that Pluto has to do with secrets, Scorpio has to do with secrets. So that could be another part of this retrograde, is that there's secrets coming up. You're like, things that you were wondering about for a while are starting to make sense. Sometimes not to smile about. Sometimes that's kind of a hard thing to hold. Sometimes stories untold, right? Sometimes though, things making sense. It's like, oh, okay, now I get to let that go. Now I get to reveal it and I can conceal it and it's my secret now. Reclaiming the power of your secrets. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. But yeah, sometimes that process, I will admit, is not the most fun thing. So as long as you're walking through it, you're being true to yourself. That's kind of what Pluto asks. Pluto is really about the will. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to do it? What is the choice? What is the decision? What's the consequence of that? And being able to study those areas during a Pluto retrograde, we kind of have the ability to do that, looking at what it cost us. Was the exchange worth it? Is there anything that we can change about it? The ruler of your 8th house is usually how those contracts are bound up. So say that you have an 8th house ruled by Libra, then your contracts are going to be bound up in balancing and justice. Say that you have an 8th house that's ruled by Aries. Okay, well, it's going to be your contracts bound up in that fresh new beginning of the child. You got to kind of do it over and over again until you get it right. So look at the ruler of the 8th house for you and kind of realize how the contracts in your life might be bound up. And then it's a little bit easier to navigate it at that point, in my opinion. You could also look at the ruler of that sign. So again, say that you have an 8th house ruled by Libra, you would want to look at Venus and kind of how that energy influences it. It'll tell you a lot about how you bind up contracts and kind of what you look for in those contracts too. Let's use the Libra example, right? If you've got Libra 8th house and you've got a Venus in the 4th house, then you're gonna look at, in the home, what am I giving and receiving? It's important to look at your contracts of the home. Apartment, leasing, mortgages, things like that are going to influence the other contracts that are going on in your life. So looking at those sort of indirect rulers is something that Pluto kind of asks us to do. And I find it heavily important. So if you find the time, if you feel like it's important, then for sure. If not, discern is not always to learn. If it's not important right now, then it's not important right now, but it could be. And so I'll give you the energy and the information. That's what it is. Okay, so let's start talking a little bit about kind of where we are with the transit. So Pluto retrograde started, we've got May 5th at 3:27 a.m. We're already past that point. We're also already past May 25th at 3:36 a.m. That's when Saturn entered Aries. Saturn entering Aries is a lot about the structure of our mind. I know, I don't know if it hit everybody else this hard, but I felt it. The moment Saturn entered Aries, I was like, oh, things are different now. I'm thinking differently. I can see things differently. So it's the order of the mind. It's the patterning of the mind. Now, because Pluto retrograde has to do with contracts coming undone and bindings coming undone, you could find that there are certain mindsets or certain ways that you think that are now depleted. It's like now defeated. You don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to think like that anymore. You can move on. You can be done. If you find also, while Saturn is in Aries, this this transit, both forward and backwards, we'll get to the retrograde a little bit further on, but looking at that Saturn in Aries, if you find things that you're looking to build and you need to, for whatever reason, like your mentality is getting in the way of being able to construct that or bind it up or bring through, the power of it. If the mind, centered in the mind, centered in this beautiful brain of yours, okay, if you have things that are blocking you, say that you immediately are like, you think about doing something and you get up to do it, or you think about doing something and then immediately you don't want to do it, that's going to be Pluto retrograde coming in to be like, okay, time to get rid of that thing. Time to get rid of it. What are you going to do about it? Time to get rid of it. What is the blockage? Go back and harvest it, and we can move on and go do the thing. So we kind of have like a two-step thing going on until Saturn does retrograde in Aries, but that's going to be one of the focuses. So fire magic is going to be involved with that. Again, we're going to get some more perspectives on that when we get to the second episode of this transit, but just as kind of like a brief introduction, fire magic is going to be a part of that. The way that the fire and the air kind of go together. If you notice that you spark something, because that's Aries, it's the spark of things. So if you notice that you spark something and the fire immediately goes out, the winds are trying to help you. You're not supposed to spark it probably, or the winds are bound to you in a way that might not be healthy. The winds, the change, the Aquarius energy. It could be also Aquarius has to do with who we're related to in society. It's not just our friend groups. It's literally everybody. It's the random person on the street. It's the person across the globe. It's your friend that you had a conversation with 3 hours ago. Okay. It's everybody. Aquarius is everyone. Something else too, I'm going to bring this in. Something else that Spirit has been reminding me of with Pluto and Aquarius is that a lot of the times Pluto and Aquarius is the discernment of, is the authority in the hands of the people, or is the authority in the hands of the spirit? Sometimes the authority, a lot of the times, to be honest, and we just don't see it. A lot of the times the authority is bigger than us. Spirit has also given us a lot of authority. We get up, we make decisions. What am I going to have for food today? How am I going to move about the world? How am I going to make this turn? How am I going to make this choice? How am I going to talk about these things? There's a lot of things, there's a lot that we learn day to day with our decisions. We've been given a lot of authority in the spirit. We've been given a lot of authority. You got a will. Go will some stuff. So if you are, thanks Spirit, if you're looking at that aspect, like we do have a lot of authority. And sometimes enough of those decisions made by enough people, the spirits above us will be like, okay, listen, time for some things to turn, time for some things to change, time for some things to rearrange a little bit. We've seen what everybody's doing, time for some things to get up and be brewing. So sometimes discernment between, is this authority in my hands or is this authority above me? Is this authority in my hands or is this authority above me? And one of the things about the authority above me, above you, above a lot of us, okay, is going to be the spirits that are big and old, okay? Aquarius also has to do, Pluto and Aquarius has a lot to do with how nature is bound to us and how we as a society are bound to nature. So things like storms, that's going to be applicable for this. Things like the animals that are around your space of living, that's going to be applicable for this. How you relate to nature and your relations of natural essence of the world, the worldly aspect of things, going into nature, going to the parks, going, like how you live your life in terms of that is also going to be applicable. Again, sometimes it's going to be the authority is yours, sometimes the authority is bigger. And sometimes, honestly, because it's Pluto, it's binding. So a lot of the times it's going to be an interactive process. You do something, you cross something, and Spirit's going to cross you with something. That's kind of a natural practice of magic. The discernment comes in between sometimes the authority is far larger than us and we do not have control and we are in the ride and it is going to be a ride. So we still have decisions to decide within the ride, but also the ride has already been decided upon for us by the spirits that are larger. And sometimes we can decide our own ride. So it just kind of depends on the situation, the place. That's part of the reason that Aquarius is unpredictable, because we don't really ever know when the primordial beings, the gods, the spirits are going to kind of snatch back up their power and be like, okay, it's our turn now. Okay, it's our turn now. That's something that is not predictable. You can't look, you might be given a heads up, okay? You might be given a heads up, but to predict exactly when, where, how that's going to happen, you don't know when lightning is going to strike. You don't know when, you don't know. You just don't know. And that's a part of it. So that's going to be something to look at and have the discernment of. And when it comes to the mind, like the mentalities of Saturn being in Aries, sometimes those mentalities, sometimes those things that you're finding within your mind, sometimes that authority is bigger than you. And let's talk about that a little bit, because when we get into the spiritual rights of the mind, the spiritual rights of the practice of the mind, it's different depending on who you are, where you come from, and kind of like how you keep your practice. How do you keep the order of your practice? What does that look like? What are the spirits in your practice, and what is your relationship with them? Also, everyone has different gifts of the mind, different clear audience or clairvoyance sort of things. There's a lot of different gifts of the mind. And one of the things that I say about the gifts of the mind, talking about Pluto and its secrets, right? One of the things I say about the gifts of the mind is that once you figure it out, keep it zipped. Once you figure out how that beautiful brain of yours works in the spirit, don't talk about it, don't tell anybody. If you do, make sure that the secret that you're giving to the person, make sure the person is worthy of it, make sure that you're going to be protected in sharing the secret, and make sure that also the authority, again, that is above you is like, yeah, cool, you could let it in. Yeah, cool, you could let them know. Because how the order is kept in the mind is right now with Pluto in Aquarius and Saturn in Aries is how our contracts are going to be bound up. So if you keep order in the mind, magical practice, or your maybe meditations or like the simple integrations in the brain, however you would explain that, those patterns and the way that we keep our mind orientation, our relationship with our mind, that's going to keep our contracts bound up. So if you, just for example, if you're sharing those gifts of the mind or the orders of the mind, this is how this gift works, and you're explaining it to someone, they're now going to be bound up in the contract, probably if they decide to receive it, to earn the right that you have earned. So if you're talking about how your gifts work, think about what you paid. What price did you pay? Because that's a lot about Pluto. There's always a price. Always a cost, and if you know the cost, then you're not lost. That's the truth. Thank you, the spirits who offered that wisdom to me. So if you know the cost, then you're not lost. So if you think about what that gift really cost you, if you're able to look at the person or the people that you might be explaining that gift to and be like, this is how I learned that, and are they willing to go through that? Are they worthy of that right or that process? And you're still able to be like, yeah, actually, comfortably, I feel like I can explain this and this is an all right thing, then probably you're cool, you're good with it. It's just something to think about. Having the Pluto in Aquarius is like, sometimes we sign up for things that we don't mean to sign up for. So be discerning also on kind of the information that you're receiving about different mental practices. You don't know the full story of Pluto until you know it, and you go through it and you grow it. So something to think about. That is one of the reasons I rarely ever talk about mental magic. Being a Scorpio who has a Saturn in Aries, that's going to be my advice. Being a Scorpio as Saturn and Aries, that's going to be my advice for that sort of placements. Just, if you feel like you need to keep it to yourself, keep it to yourself. Also, at the same time, there's probably a lot of secrets in your mind. There's probably a lot of things being revealed to you in your mind. There's probably a lot of things the Spirit's like, oh, have you thought about it this way? Oh, have you thought about it this way? Oh, did you think about it this way? Because listen, we got some ideas for you. Saturn also is about the details. So if you notice that there's tiny little shifts or tiny little gifts, your mind is like picking up little things or putting down little things, and you notice that there's tiny detailed moments, awareness practice is something that I've been really like heavily being like, it would be a good idea if you feel like it's necessary to do this. Always discernment, because if it's not necessary for you right now, then it's not, and that's what it is. But if you feel like it could be something that is going to benefit you, even just like being aware of the mind, walking around, being aware of what you're thinking as you're kind of like going through your day-to-day life. So something to say about it, something to say about it. So that's going to be when Saturn is in Aries. We also have Uranus entering Gemini July 7th at 7:48 a.m. Now, Uranus, we've got some really big perspective shifts. I mentioned this in the exclusive subs new moon in Gemini for this month, how much big stuff is changing, and this is part of the reason that I want to bring in some bigger perspective things. So I'm gonna briefly just talk about it for just a moment. We've got Neptune that just transited into Aries. That's a 14-year transit. Pluto just entered Aquarius in the previous year's November. That's an 18-year transit. And Uranus, is entering Gemini this year. That's a 7-year transit. So we have 3 planets that have long-term transits that are transiting into new signs within, what is that, like 7-8 months? November to July of this, November 2024 to July of this year. To me, that's crazy. Now, Neptune is going to retrograde back into Pisces. We're not going to talk too much about Neptune this episode, but just to bring in a brief mention of it, Neptune does retrograde back into Pisces at the end of this year, and then we'll go back into Aries next year. So we still have some transition stuff with that one. But a 14-year transitioning into a new cycle of 14 years is a big thing. So, just if it feels like it's big, It's probably supposed to be. If it feels like it's big right now, it's probably supposed to be. Just do your best to transition as needed, because all three of those big planets making really big transitions right now, we're being asked to pace ourselves and make kind of big steps. And so however that might be working for you, just kind of keep up your brew and do what you need to do, as I say at the end of our at the end of our episodes and at the end of my videos. So yeah. So that's something to look at. Okay, so when Uranus enters Gemini, Gemini is chatty. Gemini talks. Gemini is how we relate air to each other, through words, through directness, through verbal communication. And then we have Pluto in Aquarius, where we have the big winds, the primordial winds. Okay, talk to your spirits. Every time that you're talking to somebody, remember that you're talking to a spirit also. Every person is a spirit. Everyone in society has their own spirit. Everyone in society has their own practice, whether they would call it spiritual or not. Everybody keeps a practice in their life. Again, whether they would call it spiritual or not, is a practice. We practice every day. We get up and we do stuff every day. That's a practice. We're practicing life. Every time that we pick it up, every time we wake up, every time that we are alive, hello. Thank you, life. Every time we do that, we are practicing. So just remember that you're talking to the spirit every single time that you're talking to somebody else. Uranus in Gemini also means that the words that are coming through are gonna be kind of unpredictable. It's gonna be related to premonitory, unpredictable things. Say that you have a friend talking about something, I don't know, and you realize, wait a minute, that's important. Don't know why it's important yet, but it's important. Note it for yourself. Clock it, as I say. Clock it. Clock it, lock it, put it in your pocket, and make the discernment of, do I need to put this in my pocket or not? Is this something that I want to happen or not? Say that your friend is talking about something and you're like, oh, that was interesting. I know that was important. That's really the discernment of Pluto and Aquarius, is I know that was important. If you have that moment and you don't know why yet, note it for yourself with Pluto and Aquarius. It's a good base tool for Pluto and Aquarius. I know that was important, but I don't know why yet. I know that was important. I don't know why yet, but I will know eventually. How you interact with those moments is gonna let the primordial beings and the gods and the spirits that are older and bigger, longer and stronger than we are, it's gonna let them know, what do you really want from that situation? What do you want from that information shared to you? You know how people share the right information in the right place at the right time. It's like just randomly in conversation, the words that you needed to hear come up, or you overhear a conversation standing in line at the grocery store, somebody's talking about what you're working on or something similar. Okay, those sorts of unpredictable words that come up while Uranus is in Gemini and we've got Pluto in Aquarius, really pay attention to how you feel about them if you know that they're important. Because what is said is going to inform you about the unpredictable things coming up, and how you interact with what is said is going to tell the spirits how you're going to interact more than likely when you get to the thing, the unpredictable thing coming up. Say that you have a friend who's talking about going to a fair or a festival, and you're like, interesting. I wasn't thinking about going to a fair or festival, but I know that is important for some reason. And then it could be a couple months later, you randomly get invited to go out to a fair or a festival, and how you interact with those words of the friend 3 months prior when they're talking about the festival and the fair, how you interact with those words is going to let spirit know, oh, that's how they feel about it. Okay, so that's how they're going to arrive at this other opportunity in the future. That's how they're going to arrive. That's how they're going to interact with it. So how we interact with the words that are shared to us, that's how we're going to be bound up. The bindings, right? That's how we're going to be bound up to the up and coming, or kind of what to expect with the up and coming. Also too, when it comes to Pluto, I like to focus sometimes on like protective mechanisms. So if you find that someone is talking about something and you really are like, I don't want to go through that. I know that that's important. I would rather not experience that, or like, I would rather not do that. In that moment, be like, okay, listen, the spirit's on my team. This is coming up for a reason. I know it is. If there's like preparation that I need to go through so that I don't go through that, or if my path can be changed, that's also going to be a part of this process. We don't always have to receive what is talked about. We don't always have to receive those like random happenings of Aquarius. Sometimes, again, the authority is bigger than us and we don't have control over it. So that's why I say, the preparation part of things. If it is something that the spirits that have authority above you are like, as a part of your path, so we're letting you know now. So if you find something that makes you maybe a little uncomfortable that's being talked about, or you can hear it in the air through the conversations, this is what's going on, this is what people are sharing about, and you don't want to experience it, or you're like, I don't know about that one, guys, I don't know about that one, if you want to ask for preparation, or you want to ask for like a different destination if it's possible, or more information on it too. Again, the way that Pluto has to do with the will. So the way that we interact with kind of those random unexpected things that pop up is going to let the spirits know, do we want to go? Do we not want to go? How do we want to go? What's going to be the point of us going? And, you know, if you interact with those words and you're like, if I went through that kind of experience, say that someone's talking about a festival or a fair again, as an example, you're like, if I went through that experience, what would I want? Where would I want to be? What would I want to receive? The spirit's going to hear that too. So there's like protection ways that you can look at it. There's manifestation ways that you can look at it. There could also be some unexpected words brought up where now we're unbinding things that we've been through. Again, that's going to be Pluto retrograde oriented, where we're unbinding things that we've been through. Oh yeah, I remember talking about that at one point, and I don't really think I want to talk about it anymore. I remember bringing that up in conversation, and I get to let go of it now. Things like talk therapy, or like if you're talking with your friends and you're like, whoa, I don't have to hold that. Crazy. Talking about maybe like an ex or a situation that you've been through, that now you're like, wait a minute, I've been done with this, and the only reason I realized it is because we were talking about it. Now I can let it go. Your spirit is gonna know. Okay, the heart is smart, you are smart, the head is smart too with Saturn and Aries. So just use your discernment on kind of like the unbindings and the rewindings, the rebindings. Because one thing about this is a good place to input this information, because up next we have the Saturn retrograde is going to be the next thing that happens in the timeline of Pluto retrograde and like what we're working with today. So something to think about. Okay, if you're getting out of one binding, you're getting rebound up in something else. So with Pluto retrograde having to do with unbinding us and getting out of the bindings, it's pretty much always a good idea to be like, if I'm getting out of this binding, what's going to take up the space now? If I'm getting out of this binding, what is it that I get to do now? Because we're going to have more like confirmation of those things once Pluto goes direct. However, we're kind of getting ourselves set up to have those confirmations once Pluto does go direct. So if you notice that there's things that are coming unbound and you're like, I think this is what's taking the place of that. I think this is what is coming in because I'm not doing that other thing anymore, because I let go of that, because I'm not in this contract. So we're getting like the new contracts kind of set up at the same time. So something to just note for yourself. It's, in my opinion, kind of a fun process. I get to get rid of the stuff I don't want, and I get to do that. Ew! Thank you. Okay, so Pluto retrogrades are really good for if you're in kind of like a manifestation period. Just something to note. Have fun with it if you can. And because Saturn is a part of this, remember to be specific. There's stuff that you want in the new contract. There's stuff that you don't want in the new contract. Saturn with contracts and Pluto relation. If you look back at the other contracts you've been in, that's what did work for me. That's what didn't work for me. That's what did work for me. That's what didn't work for me. That's how I run it. That's how I do it with Saturn and Pluto or their relationship. My chart is like pretty Saturn and Pluto heavy. So it's definitely a process. And sometimes it takes time. Sometimes if you've been through several different contracts of something that you're manifesting and you realize that they just, for whatever reason, have not worked, first of all, sometimes that can be a little frustrating. So understood. Second, sometimes things take time and sometimes that is a little frustrating. Patience is a virtue. Isn't that what they say? Patience is something that sometimes is overdue. Sometimes you don't always have to be patient. Sometimes things just, there you go. The spark of it comes through. Saturn and Aries is true. So I guess, like, again, discernment between the two. Oh, goodness gracious. But yeah, work on the rebindings as well. It's gonna help. It's gonna help because it's like building a habit. That's the way that I explained it recently to someone on a live stream. It's like it's building a habit. You know, if there's a habit that you're getting out of and you realize this is not good for me, you know, you have to replace it with something. Otherwise, your brain is like, I still need something to do, and the only thing that you've told it to do is the thing that you're trying to not do, and so it's gonna go back to doing the thing that you're trying to not do because you haven't given it a new task yet. You have to give yourself another thing, a new thing to like be more active in or be more participating. And then that also helps to reinforce, you know, if you find yourself going back to the bad habit or the thing that you're trying to not do anymore, then you could say, wait a minute, I remember I'm doing this new thing. You just are like retraining yourself. We're animals, you know, so it's a good retraining. Also, Pluto in Aquarius is a good time to remember that we are animals. And that's the truth of it. We might be humans, yeah, and we're animals. So that's a part of your relationship with your animal, like you as an animal, as a part of Pluto and Aquarius. Some perspective maybe to look at if you wanted to figure out your relationship with your animal, the primalness of you, you know, who you are as an animal, how you are as an animal. It's a good time to, you know, get familiar with it, see what contracts you're bound up in because of that. That's going to be more just generally related to Pluto and Aquarius, not necessarily the retrograde, but like itself. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. So the next one that we have coming up, the next part of this transit that's coming up is that we're going to have, it's Saturn retrograde in Aries. Yes, Saturn retrogrades in Aries July 13th at 16:07 UTC time. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but all these times are in UTC time. So just a heads up. When it goes retrograde, oh golly, Saturn, right before it goes retrograde and right after it goes retrograde, this is how I've noticed the pattern. It usually gets a little bit more dense or a little bit more like compact. There's more things that happen, not necessarily under attack, but it's just more compact. It's more dense. There's more density. There's more decisions to be made. There's more things that are happening, more order that's being either restructured or built. So having the discernment on when Saturn turns around, things start to get a little bit more intense, or just seeing how you interact with those turnarounds as well. When that happens, okay, Saturn is going to say, listen, we've done this work to build some stuff. We've been in this rebinding. We've been in this process of harvesting with Pluto. It's time that we go back and learn some things. We're headed back. We're going back. You're not under attack, because it's Aries, that's a sign of war. You're not under attack. We need to go back, though. We need to collect some things. We need to redirect some things. We need to go back and remember some things. We need to go back and remind ourselves of who we've been and who we are. We're able to go back, and if there's any mentalities that you've been in previous eras of your life or previous times in your life that are going to be healthy to bring back in, that's going to be a time where your brain starts to go back. Now, if you have, let's talk about this. If you have anything within the Pluto, Uranus, and Saturn space in your chart that already is retrograde, right? Okay, so the retrogrades in the sky, but in your chart specifically, if you have anything in your chart specifically that's retrograde, these retrogrades are going to help you move forward. So it's going to be a double down. For people who have all the planets direct, or your planet of Pluto, Saturn, Uranus is direct in your chart, then when it retrogrades in the sky, you're focused on moving backwards. We're reconsidering. It's time of harvest. There's a lot of things to look at and understand, right? Now, if you have the retrograde in your chart, you're doing that, you're looking back while simultaneously being like, oh yeah, that thing can help me move on. Oh yeah, that thing can help me take a step forward. Oh yeah, I remember that. That thing can help me become a new person. Oh yeah, I remember that. That thing can help me bring in a new manifestation. So people who have retrogrades in their chart with the Pluto, the Saturn, and the Uranus, it's going to be helpful if you're trying to start new things, or you're going through transitions where like you need the new beginning to kind of kick in. People who have those retrogrades, sometimes it's a little bit more work to do the harvest and the building at the same time, to do the harvest and the restructuring with Saturn at the same time. It can be a lot. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? But it can be a lot, and also is something to just consider, that the retrogrades are going to help you to become the new. So if you're looking at manifesting or any sort of creation work, any sort of spell work that could be bound up that you're kind of like waiting on to ground, that could be something to, if a retrograde is happening, probably it's going to come around. So just kind of a heads up on that one. I love the retrograde periods. In my opinion, they help us to like consecrate our magic. They help us also to finalize things. They help us to confirm sometimes. Yes, confirmations a lot of the times will come when the planet goes direct more, but it's a good time. It's a good time to have magic come to ground. It's like if you've started magic and it goes up into the air, and it goes up into the sky, and it goes up into the gods, and it goes up into the realms. And then during retrogrades, it comes back down to the earth. It comes back down to the ground, and it lands. It lands, and it's around us again. It lands, and like we've arrived at the destination. It doesn't mean it's only going to take one retrograde period for that to happen. Sometimes magic does take a long time. Sometimes it takes multiple years, multiple of those retrogrades. So something else to keep in mind. But there's going to be a lot of magic that starts to ground once Saturn does turn around, because then we're going to have Saturn and we're going to have Pluto both retrograde at the same time, and Saturn will be ruling over the Pluto retrograde. Lots of magic coming to the ground, lots of new ideas, lots of things coming into your brain, lots of not to be insane. No, not insanity. There shall not be the insane in the membrane. That's not what's happening with this transit. This is going to be the remembrance of I am regal. The remembrance of I am power when Saturn turns around. The remembrance of I am power Let me not cower. Okay, let me go do the thing then. I am power. So until we get there, there's a lot of like clearing out. We're undoing the old mentalities. We're undoing the old. But when we get to the retrograde of Saturn, when Pluto is also retrograde, okay, yeah, I am power. I remember now. I am power. I am the power for me. I am power in my life. I am power. Thank you. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you for the remembrance. So right now we're kind of focused on the clearing, and then we're going to be more in the exactness of, oh yeah, I am power. Okay. And then we kind of have, what do we do with it? Now, when does Uranus go retrograde? Let's look at that. Uranus is not going to go retrograde until after the Saturn retrograde enters Pisces. We're also going to still have the full moon in Aquarius. So Uranus goes retrograde September 6th. I'm going to jump ahead for a second with our timeline of the transits that we're working with today. We're still going to go over the full moon in Aquarius, and we're still going to go over Saturn retrograde entering Pisces. But I want to talk about what happens when all three planets are going to be retrograde: Pluto, Saturn, and Uranus. When that happens, expect to be grounded. Expect to be grounded. And what do I mean when I say grounded? The magic that has been practiced, because this is the first turnaround of Pluto in Aquarius, the Pluto retrograde. This is the first one where we're not going back into Capricorn. Big deal, in my opinion. Big deal. Okay, say how you feel about it. Big deal. In my opinion, that's a big deal. So anything that has been during Pluto and Capricorn, magic that you worked, things you asked for, transitions that we're beginning that just have not yet had the time to win. You have not had the time yet to have it be a thing. You have not had the time yet to make the turn, to be in that lesson, to be in the finalization of it, to be grounded in it. I did this spell work, but it hasn't grounded yet. It's still floating around. Okay, when Pluto is retrograde, Saturn is retrograde, and Uranus is retrograde, which again, this is going to start September 6th. Remember I said September things start to get a little picked up? Okay, here's part of it. Things are going to be grounded. They're going to be grounded, and you're going to be surrounded. Surrounded in the way that you have practiced the magic. How did you practice the magic? That's going to come and surround you. How did you practice the magic? That's going to come and ground you. How did you practice the magic? That's going to come and be around you. How did you practice it? Not just what were you asking for, how did you practice it? How were you practicing it? Were you practicing it in love? Were you practicing it in, how, just the how. Was it order? Was that the how? What's important to you when it comes to the how? Because again, that's Pluto and our decision. So focusing on what's important to you and how you practiced it. How did you practice it? Was it at home? Was it at the altar? Was it in nature? Was it with the spirits? Did you make offerings? Did you do it for yourself? How did you do it? How did you do it? How you did it is going to come to ground. How'd you do it is going to come back around. So when all three planets go retrograde, just expect there to be some bigger grounding, some bigger arrivals, some bigger destinations. We have some things that are coming to the earth that have been kind of floating around for a long time, in part due to the fact that Saturn retrograde. So let's take a step back now with the transits. Saturn retrograde is going to be in Pisces at that time. So Saturn retrograde enters Pisces starting September 1st. And we're going to go back to the full moon in Aquarius in just a second, but let's talk about Saturn retrograde entering Pisces. Saturn retrograde entering Pisces is along for the ride, in the sense that we already decided what our new beginning is. We've already decided where we're going. We already know. I already know where I want to go. I already know what the new beginning. I already know. I don't need to change my mind about it. I already know. I've had some new things come in. I already know. It's already kind of started. I'm already in the new beginning, right? Okay. So Saturn going back into Pisces is like anything else that you could be winning. Let's remember for a second. Did you have everything? Did you pick it all up? Is there more to come through? Okay. Your plate might be more full than you thought. Once Saturn gets back into Aries come next year, 2026, your plate might be more full than you thought. So going back into Aries with Saturn, or going back into Pisces with Saturn and the retrograde of that, we're going to have some time to sit with, did everything align? Because Pisces is the transition and Saturn asks us to be specific. So we're coming into the new transition. We're coming into the new beginning. Did everything transition, or do I need to sit and listen? Did everything transition, or do I need to change my position? Did everything transition? Did my contract line all the way up? Did I get everything that I signed up for? Because if not, we're going back to unpack. Okay, I've got to bring it back then. Okay, I've got to remember, I've got to bring back this transition. We're going back into the transition energy of Pisces, which means also, again, Pisces has to do with also our spiritual practices and the veil work and sacrifices, offerings, being with the spirits. So if there's anything that is like the diligence and consistency with, did I get everything done? There's going to be another round. Do you remember I said Saturn retrograde, the Uranus retrograde, and the, oh golly, oh gee, and the Pluto retrograde is going to bring some things to the ground. It's going to be surround sound. It's going to be grounded. Okay, it did happen. Grounded, not grounding. It's grounding currently. It's in the process of grounding. It will be grounded when all 3 planets are retrograde up until October 13th, when Pluto then goes direct. Grounded. It is gonna be grounded. Okay, for specification and relation. Grounded. So when Saturn enters Pisces, okay, let's really go back. Is the rainwater coming through? Because that's also Pisces, a part of the rain cycle, right? So is the rainwater finally coming through? What are they going to dump on you? What did you practice? What did you ask for? How did you give your offerings? What were the sacrifices? Let it come back. Let it come back. Let it come back. You're not going to be under attack. Do you love your spirits? Do you love your practice? Did you bring things that were good? Huh? Did you do that? Did you do that? Then they're going to bring some good things in. They're going to bring some good things in. They're going to bring some good things in. So let it ground. Oh my goodness, golly. That's exciting. I'm excited for that part of this. It's going to be, and then on top of that, okay, we're going to get to the full moon in a second. I'm going to put that on the back burner because that one happens in August. So we're going to take a step back to that. But first, let's look at the fact that happens. So we have September 1st, that's when Saturn retrograde enters Pisces. September 6th is when we have Uranus go retrograde in Gemini. And then September 7th is when we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. So this is happening during an eclipse season, you guys. Dear God, this is happening during an eclipse season where things are already heightened. And I said recently in one of my videos, I honestly can't remember where, I think I've said it a couple times on the internet that, oh geez, September is going to be one of the most intense times of the entire year. Beginning of August, serious, clear, okay? September is going to be one of the most intense times of the year. And we have the new moon. This is not a date that's on the calendar in the notes, but let's look for a second. August 23rd, so the end of August is when we have the new moon in Virgo that ushers in eclipse season. We have two new moons in Virgo this year, which we're going to get to eclipse season in specifics a little bit later, but later in the months, but like when we get there, right, where I'll do some breakdowns for us. But for now, just for like the general essence of it, yeah. The end of August ushers in eclipse season. So we're already in, when Saturn retrograde enters Pisces and then Uranus goes retrograde in Gemini, we're already in the new moon that's ruling over that eclipse season, the beginning of it. It's going to be one of the most intense times of the year. And when I said that the first time, I know you might be thinking, what the heck happened in March? Okay, that was intense destruction. This is going to be intense restructure. This is going to be intense restructure, not destructure, restructure. We're restructuring. We're bringing in more structure. We're building. We're binding. It's bringing in the new. Retrogrades are harvest time, right? Okay, so there's going to be a lot in this upcoming eclipse season. If you want the extra homework, I'm going to give some, if you want it. If not, that's cool. But I'm going to give you some relations if you want to go and look at it. Look at the Pisces and Virgo places in your chart. Look at the 6th house and the 12th house. Go and look at it. Anything you've been building, anything that's been, you could look at Neptune and Mercury also. Anything you've been building is going to be related to the transitions that are happening with the Pluto and the Uranus and the Saturn. So you want the extra homework, go check out how those parts, because that's going to be the eclipses. That's the big turn once we get to the September time. And at the same time that we have Saturn going retrograde is entering Pisces, and then we have Uranus going retrograde, the start of it in Gemini. Oh, good golly. Because then September 7th. September 7th is when the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces is, and Saturn is going to be in Pisces. That's ruled by Neptune. So the eclipse is happening with Saturn. What have you been waiting on? Miracles, gifts, blessings. What have you been waiting on? What have you been working for? Expect it. It's okay to expect good things to happen. Expect it. Do you know it? Did you grow it? Did you nurture it? Have you looked at it? Have you kept the spirits alive and fed and well? Let it be there. It is your time. It's your turn. It's your time and it's your turn. It's your time and it's your turn. So go and learn. Again, there's learning stuff till we get there. Okay, the unbindings, rebindings, restructures. We get to eclipse season. It's time. It's your turn. It's your turn. What did you earn? That's going to come through. What did you earn? That's going to happen. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Okay, so then we have September 21st is going to be the new moon solar eclipse in Virgo. So that the September 7th full moon eclipse that's happening in Pisces. What did you earn? What'd you learn? How'd you earn it? It's going to return. Then we have the new beginning, September 21st, new moon solar eclipse in Virgo. Let's bring that to the earth then. What are we going to do with it? How are we going to put it here on the earth? It's time for us to turn. It's time for us to turn down here on the earth, not just up in the spirit. Not just up in the spirit. It's time to turn on the earth. How are we going to utilize those skills? What did spirit just bring through for us that allows us to start a new beginning? What did spirit just bring through? It could be a lesson. It could be a learning. It could be a gift. There's a lot of different things that could come through. It depends on the magic practice that you've been in and kind of what you've been practicing, right? What did spirit bring through? Hopefully it's good. I really hope it is. I really hope that the work that you've been doing brings through some good stuff, you know? Because that new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, we have a new beginning. Spirit brought you what you needed, and we have a new beginning. Okay, so then we have Pluto Retrograde ends October 13th at 14:54 UTC time. Before we get to the end of it, let's track back. Remember I said we were going to go back to the full moon that's happening in Aquarius. So that's August 9th, 7:34 a.m. UTC. We got the full moon in Aquarius. Let yourself see it. Let yourself see it. You remember the full moon that happened in Scorpio? When was it? A month ago? Not even at this point. It was on May 12th. Okay, that full moon in Scorpio, and kind of like the previous, that moon cycle, was a lot about unpredictable truths, things that we couldn't expect coming up, things that we couldn't expect coming to the surface. That's also the time period where Pluto started its retrograde, right before that. So we had the full moon in Scorpio, and Pluto was already retrograde, so we had kind of a beginning. So if you wanted to, a beginning being, we got to see the truth for the first time. We got to see the truth for the first time. So once we get to the full moon that's happening in Aquarius, there's going to be another layer of, there's going to be more to be concealed. Maybe not revealed. More to be concealed. Sometimes the full moon can bring things up, especially when Pluto is involved. Sometimes it can bring things up where it's like, oh, nobody else needs to see that. I see it very clearly. I see it very clearly. And put a shield around it. 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 Okay. You got things happening. You got things working that other people don't need to know about. You've seen other practitioners work against you and nobody else needs to know about it. You've seen your enemies. Okay. Let it be concealed. Don't let it be revealed. Don't let it be revealed. Let there be a shield. Let yourself shield the wisdom that you receive on that full moon in Aquarius. Shield it, and wield it. Shield it and wield it. The shield is also a weapon. Let us remember that. Let us remember that. The shield is also a weapon. Shield it and wield it. How you need to, how you feel like you need to. We've got a big revealing coming through. Again, because we did for people who did the new moon coven work on the new moon in Aquarius, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the next episode and kind of what to expect. So then when Pluto retrograde ends, we're going to be in the middle of October. This Scorpio season, holy cow. Look at all the transition that we're going through with this Pluto retrograde. Look at all the transition. Look at all the gifts that are coming in. Look at the rebindings of the mind, the primordial spirits coming through the words and letting us know things that could happen. Scorpio season this year is going to ask that everything that Pluto retrograde has brought to us, we put it into action. Time to put it into action. Okay, what'd you learn? Who'd you become? What'd you let go of? What were the contracts that were rebound up? Time to put it into action. Yep, time to put it into action, not a fraction, okay? Not a fraction, not just a little bit of it. We're doing all of it. All is a big call. We're going to do all of it? Take the steps. Put it into action. It's time to go. It's time to go. You could go slow. You don't have to go zoom, 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 you know? You can go slow, but it's time to go. It's time to go. October, the end of October, when we get into Scorpio season after Pluto turns around, and then we get in November, it's time to go. So give yourself, if you're really, really working with this transit between October 13th and when Scorpio season starts, so what is that, 23rd? Yeah, before Scorpio season starts on the 23rd of October. So you have about 10 days. Give yourself time to adjust. Give yourself the adjustment period. Give yourself the time to just sit around and enjoy the fact that that is done. You're about to be receiving and moving on, moving up. If you've done the work, there's going to be some elevation for you during Scorpio season this year. Like a lot, like more than you thought, like way more than you thought. Like, holy cow, I did a lot. Like, holy cow, I didn't even realize I did so much. That's going to be Scorpio season this year. I mentioned it in the new moon of Taurus. So what, 2 new moons ago on the exclusive blog, that we might have one of the biggest harvests that we've seen in a long time during this year. So if you have anything going on, just expect the unexpected. Scorpio season this year is going to help us be redirected, and it's going to help us be redirected in a way that we didn't think we could even do. You know how sometimes Spirit brings things through and is like, wow, I didn't even know I could do that. That's even better than I thought it was going to be. Wow, thanks, Spirit. I didn't even know I could do that. I didn't even know that I could bring that. I didn't even know that I could be that. I didn't even know. I didn't know. One of the things that happened recently in a live stream reading, one of the things that Spirit brought through is that if Spirit brings you the idea, that's permission. Spirit brought you the idea, you have permission. Spirit gave you the vision, you have permission. Go create it then. You're about to become it if that's what you want. If that's the direction you want going, Spirit giving you the idea is Spirit giving you permission. Spirit giving you the idea because permission and submission has a lot to do with Scorpio and Pluto relations also. So Spirit bringing you the idea, that is permission. That's Spirit. Otherwise, Spirit would keep you blind. Otherwise, Spirit would make you be kind and be blind. You wouldn't be able to see it. You wouldn't be able to be aligned with it. So if Spirit allows you to see what could be, the possibility, you can see that it's possible, that's permission. You can see that it can become a thing. That's permission. How you get there is up to you. That's true. How you get there is up to you. And how it fully kind of like comes into creation because of how you get there could be maybe a little bit different. It kind of depends on your relationship with Spirit and how you know your visions and your ideas work. So discernment on that, you know. And also, Spirit bringing you the idea, that's permission. You have permission from Spirit now. What are you going to do with it? Remember I said earlier, Spirit gives us a lot of authority in our day-to-day. You know, we wake up and we make decisions. And what are you going to wear? What are you going to do? How are you going to drive? Are you going to walk? Are you going to talk? Are you going to drink some water? Are you going to hydrate? I probably need to do that right now. So, yeah. So if you have the idea, that's permission. Spirit gave you permission. So then it becomes a process of creation. And because Pluto's in Aquarius, things sometimes happen a little bit unexpectedly. So if Spirit... basically through the whole Pluto retrograde, if there's ideas that are coming through, especially while Saturn is in Aries, whether it's forward or backwards, whether it's direct or retrograde, definitely pay attention, because those ideas are permission. Those ideas are giving you permission to go and be the thing, go and do the thing, go and have it for yourself. And if Spirit gave you permission, as long as you give yourself permission, that's the only permission that you need. Spirit just gave you the authority. You got permission, you have the authority. One of the things with Pluto and Aquarius is that sometimes the authority is beyond us, right? Sometimes the authority is higher than us. Sometimes the authority that Spirit gives to you with those ideas and permissions on an individual level is going to be more powerful than the authorities that already exist within the systems and the institution. There's a reason that Pluto and Aquarius has to do with revolution and rebellion. Hello, okay? Well, let's talk about revolution for a second. Re-evolve. To re-evolve, you're going to evolve again. That's like going the next step up in an evolution. We're going to put another layer on it. That's a lot of Saturn energy too. Put another layer on it. Put another ring around it. Put another ring around it. So when it comes to the authority that Spirit gives to you, Pluto and Aquarius is about the authority returning back to the individual and back to the people. Back to the people in their relationship with nature. Back to the people in their relationship with society. Back to the people in their relationship with the world. Back to the people. Look at how the authority in our world works. Look at the authority in our world that's man-made, okay? It's man-made. It's man-made. That authority is becoming restructured. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen because, again, some things are beyond me. And thankfully, because there's some things I don't need to know until I know it. There's a lot of things I do know, but there's some things I don't need to know until I know it. Thank God. So there's going to be some things with authority as we're going through this transit. And this is kind of like a bigger note for the whole entire transit of Pluto and Aquarius. There's going to be some things with authority that are becoming restructured. People are realizing that they have the authority to do what Spirit is giving them the authority to do. The authority has been given to you. How you get there, again, is up to you. The way that you interact with the systems and the institutions, again, up to you. Pluto, neutral. Tools, neutral. Pluto, the being, maybe not so neutral, okay, but the fact that like exchanges and contracts is neutral. It's how we show up to it. How do we show up to it? How are we going to exist in it? How are we going to live in it? That's what brings the change. A tool that could be used by the enemy is the same tool that could help you get out of the dangerous situation that the enemy then placed you in. Sometimes we got to use those tools and turn things around. So if you're able to look at things, being neutral is very profound. One of the things that the spirits in my practice tell me is that being neutral has a naturality to it. If you can find the naturality and the neutrality of a tool, you're able to kind of bring it in any perspective. You're able to bring it in any direction. And so being true to your morals, being true to your ethics, being true to who you are and how the spirits hold you accountable, as you know in your practice, then you can start to put those layers onto it. But breaking down, that's the important part of that process, is breaking down the weapons, the tools, the things that have been used against you and have maybe done harm, done pain, strain, hurt, all the different names that we could put on it, okay? If that's happened, if you're able to break those tools down in a place of neutrality and be like, oh, okay, you process the emotion around it, you've understood the logic of it, I understand how that works. Actually, now I know how I interact with it. Now I know on a moral, ethical basis, I know how that tool works. I can break it, I can bind it, I can put new energy in it, I can use it for a different purpose. There's a lot, it depends on the tool, okay? That's gonna be a general statement. Depends on the tool, depends on the situation. But there's a lot of, one of the things we've been talking about on a collective level for a while is the deconstruction work, right? So deconstructing ancestral work, deconstructing institutions, deconstruction. So if you can get to a point within the deconstruction where things become neutral, the emotions are processed, because before the emotions are processed, it's more than likely not gonna be very neutral, and that is an all right thing. That's okay, that's okay. It is a process, and once the emotions are processed, there's a very clear neutrality to it. And once you find the clear neutrality to it, again, it can become something that you are able to utilize in a way that is not going to be in the harm that has already happened. So I think that might be the final note that I have for today, to be honest with you. That was kind of a lot to say. That was kind of Pluto and Aquarius. The restructuring of institutions, because Spirit said the authority is bigger than me. That's what it is. Interesting. So if you want to look at those aspects or those kind of like realities, those finalities maybe, because once the thing about Pluto, one of the things is that Pluto has to do with death. So once we get out of Pluto and Aquarius, how we relate as a society to the systems and the institutions and the things that are happening around us, and how nature relates to those things, we're done rebinding that. So once we get out of it, then we're done. So we have a while. We're at the beginning. And also, if you've noticed anything when it comes to the structures, the systems, and institutions, which is kind of easy to notice, in my opinion, it's kind of easy to notice that there's some shifts. There's some changes going on. One of the things about the beginning of Pluto transits is that there's usually something really harmful that happens, and then we turn in another direction. We got to learn at the beginning. Oh, this is where we've been, and it's kind of like flashed really brightly in our face, and then we say, okay, this is what we're going to do with it. This is how we're going to move. This is how we're going to change. This is what we're going to shift. This is how we're going to do it. So something to rearrange. If it feels a little strange, another perspective around it that I hope helps you, okay? And love, truth, free, honor, glory, elevation, gratitude, reverence, magic, spirit, justice, and love. That's the truth. Not the helicopter flying over at the exact moment that I finish that. So, gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Keep up the brew. Keep doing what you need to do. Thanks for sitting with me in the new transition. Like I said, there's a big change in position. Things have been rearranging in the background of kind of the way that I structure my practice and structure the work that I do. So there's going to be more updates on the coven work and kind of what to expect with Magick in the next episode. And also too, thank you for allowing me to sit in the restructure, because that's another question I've had for a while with Spirit is how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna bring the coven the information that's needed and necessary while simultaneously keeping up a space for other people who maybe don't want to practice with us and are looking more for the general information or the astrological information, maybe people who don't practice sort of ritualistic kinds of magic. So this way, we have both, and being able to have both, you don't have to practice ritualistic kind of magic if you don't want to. And if you're someone who does ritualistic kind of magic, then there's a space for that to come together. We can practice together. There's going to be some things also in the coming episode, just to kind of give you kind of like a prequel or what to expect. There's going to be some of the magic can be bound together, and some of it is going to be able to be like just for you. So there's going to be the order, because we've done one work together as a coven. So the order of like the practice is going to be maybe honestly, maybe a little bit different than expected, because the first work that we did together was very like specific. It was at kind of a specific time. It was at a specific words. It was very, very specific. So there's going to be structure and order for coven work, but the timing is not going to be quite as direct or quite as specific. It'll be more working with the natural, neutral kind of space of when the transit is happening. And then two, if you don't feel like getting up at that exact time, you can get up whenever you want to and go and do the work then. That's one of the reasons, let's talk about it at the end. That's one of the reasons that I decided to kind of switch up the order of the podcast. I know that people rely on this information, and I love showing up and I love doing it. And for the previous probably like 2 months, it's been hard. Every single week I've been like, I know people need this, and I know I need to get up and do it, but every single time, every single episode, I've been kind of like dragging my feet. It's been really difficult. So I think this new perspective, where it may not be exactly every single week, it will be when I'm able to get on and unpack some stuff for us and come through in a natural way, because one of the things that Spirit has been asking me to do on a personal level, and because I'm offering to so many people, is to the deconstruction work, talk about it then, doing the deconstruction work of making sure that I'm not super integrated with the way that the patriarchal systems, the institutions that are set up right now, can be harmful. And one of those things is our time. Hello, Saturn, part of the transit, right? Our time. So my time being bound up to like a really, really specific date or deadline is not always, with the way that I work in my creativity, is not always the healthiest thing for me. So I'm grateful and I appreciate the kind of room for allowance of change. It's kind of like, when artists reach a new season and like they put out a new album and it sounds a little bit different. That's kind of how I feel right now. A little bit of an evolution, a little bit of a re-evolution. So thanks for being here. I'm grateful for it. Again, gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Keep up the brew that you do. If you have anything that you're looking to invest into the coven altar space, just kind of like keep your mind around it, or like think about it, feel through it. There's going to be more updates around sending that in the coming episode. The altar is set up and it's consecrated so that it is, what it needs to be, so that it can feed all of us and keep us all healthy, happy together. And more updates about the coven work, which I'm really excited for. That was another thing. I was like, I got to figure out how to bring more work to the coven, because I want to practice more with them. And I know that there's people who want to practice more too, more than likely. If I want to practice more, probably there's other people that want to practice more. So I'm really looking forward to that change. I'm really, really looking forward to us being able to come together on a more maybe like consistent or frequent basis. So again, more updates there, but I'm really excited about it. So yay, so cool. And I'm grateful that the changes could bring through more exciting things. I hope that the changes that you're going through are bringing through more excitement for you too, and that things are working out for you, because there are a lot of really big changes that are happening at this time, and kind of for the next year and a half. We've got a lot going on. It makes me laugh a little bit, but also like let me hold on for the ride. That's it for today. I'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you for being here. I know I've said it like a bajillion times, but things have been, even in the silence that I've been sitting in, I hit number 94 on the bestsellers list recently on Substack and education. I've been on the top rising list for like very frequently recently, and I literally couldn't do that if people did not listen and read. So thank you for the support. It's been an incredible honor. It has been. It's been an incredible honor, and I do feel honored, and I'm very, very grateful for the space that has been created here with us. So thank you for honoring me. Thank you for the honor of the work that I do. I might cry a little bit. Oh my God. Thank you for the honor of the work that I do. It's been a long time coming to get to a place where I'm able to sit here and be, of honor, where we can practice together. And it feels like a brand new beginning, where things are really starting out, things are fresh, things are new. And with the new coven brew, the new coven work, like Spirit has me working with, with the Pluto and Aquarius transit of like being about 20 years from now, making sure that things can be set up for longevity. So with the transitions that are coming, I'm grateful for the honor. And may you be able to be honored by the work as well that I do here. So I really hope that you feel that that's true. Yeah. And thank you for allowing me to honor you in that work if you do feel that it is true. Yeah, I'm grateful for that too. And I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you. Keep up the brew that you do. I will too. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to the episode.